America replaced their black population after the Civil War. Let me explain. After the Civil War ended in 1865, the United States entered a brief but powerful period known as Reconstruction. Millions of black people in the United States, who had previously been enslaved, violated, treated as commodities, were finally, at least in name, free. This was done at sword point. Southerners still saw no wrong in such a practice. If the Union hadn't forced them to submit, it's not unreasonable to say slavery might have lasted another 100 years, at least until the South finally discovered what a factory was. In 1865, the black population in America was 4.4 million, while the total population was about 35 million. Black people accounted for around 13 to 14% of Americans. That's about 1 in every 8 people in the country, with nearly all of them living in the South. This posed a big threat to all Southern, and many Northern, elites. By 1868, over 80% of eligible black men in the South were registered to vote. Black churches, communities, and schools emerged, showing how deeply African Americans embraced education and civic life. As EJI notes, courageous black leaders overcame enormous obstacles to win elections to public office. For racist whites, this was insufferable. They had given black people freedom, but they couldn't stomach those same black people using that freedom to succeed. Imagine giving someone shoes and then getting mad they ran faster than you. Between 1865 and 1877, thousands of black women, men, and children were killed, attacked, and terrorized by white mobs, who were virtually never prosecuted. Former Confederate soldiers and white supremacist groups like the Ku Klux Klan launched a reign of terror that nullified constitutional amendments designed to protect black civil and voting rights. This led many black people to migrate north, looking for places with better chances for equality. And while they didn't find full equality, at least in the North, black people weren't facing the same level of constant, organized racial terror carried out by their own neighbors. But mob violence was just the surface. Above it all, there were deliberate efforts to reduce the black population's percentage, led by politicians, thinkers, ministers, and pseudoscientists with too much ink and not enough soul. Even the Supreme Court got in on the betrayal. In decision after decision, it blocked congressional efforts to protect formerly enslaved people, upholding segregationist laws and rejecting federal protection of black civil rights. After emancipation, many freed slaves hoped for land. In January 1865, Union General William Sherman promised 40 acres and a mule to newly freed families. But President Andrew Johnson, who might as well have been the South's mole in the White House, rescinded this promise by the end of 1865, returning the land to white Southern owners. The opportunity for land and independence was crushed like a bad dream under a boot. Black families, stripped of resources, were pushed into sharecropping. As PBS reports, sharecropping was marketed as land ownership by proxy, but it proved a fundamentally unequal arrangement, organized to keep black farmers from ever achieving economic or social mobility. As black Americans were being pushed down, white elites were pushing something else: eugenics. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, influential academics, bureaucrats, and intellectuals insisted that America must be populated only by the right stock. Spoiler, that didn't mean the people who had labored in the fields, it meant the ones who had always controlled the land and capital. This is how they were replaced. The Chinese Exclusion Act, 1882, and the Gentlemen's Agreement, 1907, kept Asians out. Meanwhile, Ellis Island opened its gates. Italians, Irish, Poles, Jews, Germans, all poured in. And despite early racism against them, all were eventually handed a VIP pass into the white category. Then came the 1924 Immigration Act, Johnson-Reed Act, which capped immigration from non-Nordic countries to protect American racial stock. White Europeans poured non-stop into the states, hindering black progress and taking away industrial jobs that would have otherwise gone to black people. These new white immigrants, once assimilated, were used to undercut labor solidarity with black workers, reinforce white political control, especially in the North, help reset America's racial hierarchy after slavery was abolished. They were often granted social mobility over time, while black Americans remained locked in poverty and segregation. One group climbed the ladder, the other was asked to hold it. This was demographic engineering, an attempt to whiten America and crush down the Black Plague, as one Southern politician actually called it. Here's how one white Southern newspaper put it in 1868. The Negro is intoxicated with liberty. He must be watched, restricted, and controlled. President Theodore Roosevelt famously said, as a race and in the mass they are altogether inferior to the whites. Every vicious, venal, or ignorant colored man is an even greater foe to his own race than to the community as a whole. Roosevelt, like many elites of his era, believed racial degeneration was a real threat, and boosting the white population was the cure. Immigration wasn't just policy. It was a weapon. Francis Amasa Walker, a Massachusetts academic and government official, wrote, "The Negro cannot compete with the European immigrant, he will either sink into a lower depth of degradation or disappear." By 1920, black Americans made up around 10% of the population, down from 14% during Reconstruction. Political power in the South had been violently stripped away. New immigrants had been granted whiteness, and with it, access to full citizenship. Black Americans, meanwhile, were lynched, redlined, segregated, and packed into underfunded neighborhoods. Even as waves of immigrants climbed the ladder, black Americans were locked out of opportunity, by design. If this hadn't happened, black people in America would have made up at least 25 to 30% of the U.S. population today. Every accusation is an admission of guilt. Black people were replaced in their own homeland. The mistakes are now being rectified. May the Republicans never again gain power. Anyways, thanks for watching, please like the video and subscribe, at least give me 20 subscribers brothers, take care cuties.